But no one asks the question, what pushes or gives the atoms at the very primary level, gives them the impetus, the push, the knowing, the drive, this understanding that they can do this, that they can divide, that they can bind with each other to form other chemicals and molecules. For example, what gives hydrogen and oxygen the knowledge, and hydrogen and oxygen are the same anywhere. They have the same characteristics, the same, what's the term I'm looking for? Doesn't matter. The same characteristics, right? The same properties, anywhere in the universe. And yet hydrogen and oxygen, given the right environment, will form water. What gives them, and this is something it's hard for people to get their head around, I think sometimes, is to just think about it, because people jump in with an answer. And I'm saying, don't jump in with an answer, sit with it. What gives hydrogen the knowing, the understanding, for want of better language, and oxygen the understanding that when they get together they can form something else, and the drive to do exactly that? That given the circumstances, that's what will occur. Like there's a dictate that you get together with you, you'll form this. So 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen form water. And if we have 2 hydrogen and 2 oxygen, we end up with hydrogen peroxide, I think, H2O2. So what gives them that knowledge, that drive, that push? So, we have an interesting thing that says, evolution basically says the lower becomes the higher. That the most simple thing evolves into the most complex thing over time, adapting to environment, etc. And I say no. I say that the simplest thing the lower can't become the higher. The higher pushes the lower to become the higher. In other words, there has to be already a knowing, a drive, an impetus, a potential within hydrogen and oxygen, for example, or in carbon, to know to bind and bond, and then for these atoms to form into molecules, to form into this, that, and the other, to be able to replicate, and for cells to divide and become more complex and grow into these other organisms. That's a drive, that's a push. That's like a battery being plugged into these things that says, without this you don't work. Now, no one's ever talked about that. I'm the only person I know that has talked about that and thought about that. And I'm sure others think about it, but I'm the only one I know. No one's ever come to me and had this conversation. And no scientist overseeing any of these shows ever talks this way, or questions or challenges against what they just accept as normal. Suddenly there's a big bang, and from that, matter spewed into the universe, and it kept expanding. The universe is still expanding, and and as all these bits of matter got together, they formed planets and formed suns, and and asteroids, and it's like, okay, that sounds all very lovely. But if you come up with something, and I see this on social media, if you come up with a theory on something, or you question a narrative, you'll get shot down as being either an anti-vaxxer or this, that, and the other. And it seems such a very narrow, petty type of conversation. But no one actually sits back and says, okay, are you telling me that we had an infinite nothingness forever? A void, just nothing, infinite nothingness with nothing in it. And then suddenly it went bang. And from that bang, the Big Bang, suddenly we've got everything. Over millions of years, billions of years. Right now, if I said that to anybody on social media, that this is my theory about how life is, and we didn't have all this science, propaganda and conjecture and, the conditioning, if you want, for better language rather than propaganda, but this conditioning of science, that this is how we got here, everyone would think you're nuts coming up with a theory like the Big Bang. It has seemed the most farcical, ridiculous thing, because when they say follow the science, they're expecting that you would follow a logical, sane path that's tried and tested, that's peer-reviewed, that makes sense. And suddenly we're saying, okay, there's nothing, and suddenly there's everything.